and welcome to Inner Circle Guidance. Today we're going to be doing a collective reading, but for those of you who are new to the circle, hello and welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I post new videos every single day. And if you're looking for daily short tarot readings, check out my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. If you want to enter to win a free social media reading, look out for my magic hat posts on Instagram. You can submit a question for the chance to have your question pulled for a social media reading. And if you're looking for personal services or personal readings, I offer them through my website, innercircleguidance.com. Let's find out what the circle needs to know today. We have the Devil. We have the Eight of Cups. We have the Four of Cups. Wow, okay. We have the Eight of Swords. We have the Two of Wands. We have the Nine of Cups on the bottom of the deck here. I'm going to take some clarity cards here. We have the Three of Wands, Page of Wands, Ten of Swords, Six of Wands, Three of Cups, Queen of Wands on the bottom of the deck. I'm going to get clarity on this Eight of Swords and this Four of Cups. Empress. Leave the Page of Swords. All right, this is what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing that in your past, you have been very much influenced by the way society tells you that you're supposed to be happy, or tells you how you're supposed to express yourself, or what you're supposed to be doing, or how you're supposed to be going about something. And I'm seeing that you've had a lot of negative mindsets from these situations. Some of you may have gone through traumas that also gave you these negative mindsets. For others of you, I'm seeing that you inherited some of it from family. But ultimately, you went through this spiritual awakening. You went on this path of self-discovery. But it required you to leave behind a lot of things that you didn't necessarily want to leave behind. There were a lot of very painful endings. There was kind of this big cycle that happened to where you had to come into more awareness and understanding of your masculine and feminine energy and how to come into balance with that. And I'm seeing here that you had a lot of awakenings happen, and spirit and your guides helped you a lot. But there were still certain truths or certain boundaries that you were not placing for yourself that was still keeping you a little bit stuck, because you were rejecting your feminine energy. So the Empress is very much feminine energy. It is somebody who, whatever they nurture is what grows. And you kind of blocked yourself from this energy because your feminine energy was an energy that was very giving. The Empress is extremely giving, but the difference is that the Empress knows when to draw the line, whereas, say, the Queen of Pentacles is very giving but doesn't always know where that line is. You thought that by rejecting your feminine energy and by neglecting it and shoving it down and pretending it didn't exist, that it was somehow going to bring you into balance, because you thought that by using your masculine energy instead of your feminine energy that you were somehow protecting yourself. And that's really not been the case. What ended up happening is you ended up sort of turning your back on an important aspect of yourself, and it put yourself out of balance, and it made your energy and your focus be pulled in multiple directions because there wasn't balance. And so you were always sort of either exceeding in one place and neglecting another, or you were always sort of trying to struggle to balance all these different areas of your life that kind of seem constantly out of balance. Now, what I'm seeing now is that cycle is ending. We have the Ten of Swords on the table here. The Ten of Swords is a cycle that ends very painfully, and probably the most painful way possible. It is a cycle that was long overdue, should have ended a long time ago. But I'm seeing that with the Devil especially being on the table, this was a very hard lesson for you to learn, because for the longest time, your feminine energy and your giving got you in trouble because you couldn't trust yourself, because your mindsets and things were not in alignment and balance with your higher self. And so what happened is you were only able to grow so successful. You were only able to be a certain amount of successful, and certain successes ended up not being as fruitful as you wish they would have been. Other times you would gain these big successes and you kind of just weren't as fulfilled as you thought you would be. And for others, I'm seeing that you kind of reached a plateau where things just sort of stagnated and you weren't able to elevate. And so what I'm seeing now is that you're going about things differently. You are planning differently. You kind of are able to see like the long-term goal out in the distance. And it's more of the planning period of how to actually get there that has changed the way that you are perceiving this energy and how you're perceiving going about things and how you're planning going about things. The thing that either you may not have recognized yet that is working, or the thing that you have recently realized that has taken you so long to understand, is that you have to come into balance between your masculine and your feminine energies. You have to come into balance between your higher self and your shadow self. But oftentimes we think that balance means that we have to have sort of this false positivity all the time. We have this false sense of security about this, so that if we are staying balanced, that means that we're constantly positive, we're constantly making the right decisions, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Okay, it just got not sustainable. So essentially what I'm trying to say is this idea that you have to be constantly positive and constantly working hard towards your goals and constantly moving forward and elevating is not sustainable. That is not actual balance. Having false positivity is not actually positive. And so you're realizing now that the way that you have to go about things is with more balance, but your idea and definition of balance has shifted. And if you haven't gotten to this place yet, you're going to be coming into the spiritual awakening soon. Balance is about restoration. It's about the two sides equally existing, but in harmony and peace. It's not about shoving one down so that the other gets fed. It's more about coming into a symbiotic relationship with the two. So for example, for those of you who are overgivers, you would shove your feminine energy down and you would embrace your masculine energy to try to protect yourself from overgiving. Well, what ends up happening is you fall out of balance because it's not sustainable. Your masculine energy isn't meant to carry the burden, just like your feminine energy isn't meant to carry the burden. And it's the same for your higher self and your shadow self. You're not meant to fully carry the burden alone. Notice how we have the 3 here. I talk about this a lot. And we have the 3 in the Empress, and there's a reason why the Empress is a 3. 3 is the number of supreme balance between mind, body, and spirit. It is unity of your consciousness. It is unity of the different levels and aspects of yourself. The Empress, the reason why the Empress is so fruitful and is so successful is because she gives, but she gives to the right things and she nurtures the right things. But she's also like, what's that old saying, like an iron fist and a velvet glove? She knows when to be very like, listen, this is not how this is going to go down. I'm not going to put up with this. And she knows when to be loving and nurturing. Same with the 3 of Wands type of energy. You're coming into more of this understanding of what 3 means, what balance means between those 3 areas. And it's the same with the 3 of Cups. We have a lot of 3s here on the table. The 3 of Cups has to deal with celebrations. It has to deal with balance between being on your own and doing things by yourself and having a community that you can trust, and a family unit that you can trust, and a friend unit that you can trust. It's about the unity between your logical side, your emotional feminine side, your spiritual side. It's the harmony between your spiritual side, your physical self, and your mind. These areas of balance are becoming very important with the way that you define what that looks like. Part of this major cycle that's closing out is the misinterpretation of that balance. Instead of trying to shove one down, whether it's your shadow self you're shoving down, or your masculine energy you're shoving down, or your feminine energy, because you have to remember, a lot of people automatically think, oh, it's the feminine energy that gets shoved down. And that's true for a lot of people, because especially in Western culture, we have an idea that being vulnerable and being loving and caring and those types of things is somehow a weakness. When actually, if we talk about the laws of the universe, the most powerful energy is love, because it's unending. It's like such a powerful, positive energy that it's really unmatched by anything else. But we have this idea of it, and so we tend to shove things down. But there's also a lot of times when we shove down our logical side and we shove down our masculine energy, especially because strong, independent women, for example, have more masculine energy that they tend to infuse into their daily lives. But then society tells us, oh, you're not feminine enough. You're not girly enough. You're too much of a tomboy. You're too masculine and manly. It happens both ways. You have to open your eyes to both scenarios, just like you have to open your eyes to the idea that sometimes your self-saboteur and your shadow self actually have very important messages for you. They're very important pieces of the puzzle about how to work through your issues and your traumas and your insecurities and things like that. When you shove them down, nothing actually happens to that energy other than it stagnates and it gets more restless. As you're coming into this major closing of the cycle, you're going to start understanding how to put these two energies at work together, which is going to bring you into a major balance, which is going to bring you into major victories and celebrations. It's also going to bring you into some balance that you've never experienced before. It's going to elevate your consciousness level and your manifestation abilities to a level that you're not used to, which means you have to pay attention to your focus at this time. You're going to have to elevate that level of focus that you have for this level of manifestation and this level of balance and things that are coming in, because you're going to find that whatever you focus on, whatever you nurture, is going to manifest much faster, which means that if you have a day where you are falling into more negative mindsets and you're not giving yourself that space to work through that, you're going to start manifesting negative things into your life faster. You're also going to lose focus faster if your focus is all over the place. And so take it one step at a time, and don't get so overwhelmed of thinking like, oh God, I have to think every single day. I have to be positive. I have to be careful. To an extent, that's true, but it's more about coexisting with the two energies than it is shoving them down or trying to be falsely positive. It's actually very healthy to have negative thoughts and actually even acknowledge those thoughts and write them down. What you nurture is what grows. That goes further than, okay, if I'm positive, I'm going to be positive and things positively are going to come into my life. It also means that you have to nurture your negative and shadow side. You have to nurture your masculine and feminine energies and give them space for the balance of the negative and positives that they bring. And then you choose to balance your energy in that way, and you choose to step forward with healthy, positive ideas, mindsets, manifestations, goals, etc. But you can't fully do that if you're shoving down the negative sides of you. If you're not acknowledging when you feel anxious or angry or upset, you have to remember that there's a balance in everything. Even with anger, there's healthy anger. That's part of that balance that some of you who are struggling with being overgiving, you shove your anger and stuff down, and that makes it hard for you to judge where exactly your anger is founded and unfounded, when it's healthy and when it's not. All of this is coming into a major balance. All of this is really important, and I know this can be a little hard to understand and comprehend and digest fully, because it gets into the idea of, on the surface level, when we start at the beginning of manifestation stuff, we say you got to be positive, blah, blah, blah. Some people fall into that negative false positivity, And it's hard to differentiate between the two when you're out of balance. And so I hope I'm being clear here, because I feel like I'm not quite hitting the nail on the head. And maybe that's just because I'm having some communication troubles here with how to fully describe this. And part of it is the energy I'm picking up on is in transition. And so some of the messages are getting a little garbled because we're in that transitory awakening stage where some of you are coming into this major enlightenment. And so that energy is sort of blocking my communication right now. I feel like I'm not as eloquently speaking. But the whole idea is that you have to learn how to balance your energies, and you have to learn how to remain focused in that when you elevate. Because when you balance your masculine and feminine energy, and you balance your shadow side and your higher self, you elevate all aspects of yourself because you come into a higher level of authenticity. When you accept the positive and negative parts of you, when you accept the happy and sad side, the angry and ecstatic, all these different facets are pieces of your being. They're part of your experience. When you acknowledge it, when you give it space, and when you nurture and say, okay, I love you for who you are. I love you for what you are. You don't need to change. You come into a level of understanding and elevation of your soul and consciousness that you weren't at before in your spiritual awakening, which means that all these things that you have once been at a boss level, let's use some gaming terms here, you were at a boss level on these certain skills. When you elevate, you now have to elevate those skills to that elevation. I don't know if you can see my hands, but yeah, anyway. So ultimately, focus on your coming into balance. Instead of shoving things down, come into acknowledgement and acceptance. Then work on your skill set, elevating to the level of spiritual awakening you're on. That's going to help stabilize your consciousness, stabilize your manifestation, stabilize the unity between the different aspects of yourself. And that is going to bring you to the next tier of manifestation, the next tier of spiritual awakening, to where a lot of these other things are not really going to be a problem anymore, and it's going to close out major cycles for you. So your affirmation for this reading is, I am acknowledging, accepting, and balancing the different aspects of myself. And I am elevating my skills to my level of consciousness and spiritual awakening. And if any of you have questions, of course, I'm here for you in the comments below. And as always, may your life be full of light, full of love, abundance, and gratitude. I'll see you next time.